mistakes are not a pattern. So I'm going to go through A, B, and C here, and you're going to see the 4 main points that we've been driving at reflected that were in your quiz. And I want to make sure that these mistakes don't repeat themselves again. Okay? All right. So, solve each of the following. This is just fundamental core stuff that you have to be able to get right. Okay? What kind of 4 is this in letter A? So I have to do minus 4. And I get negative 12 equals danger, danger, danger. Mr. Braze, Emma's over there looking at my yearbook from high school for a second, and she said, "Who was your favorite teacher?" I said, "Mr. Braze." She immediately pronounced Braz. But Mr. Braze used to tell us all the time, what's the right, wrong answer. In other words, if you're going to make a mistake, what is the mistake someone's going to make right here? What would be the thing that they do, or more specifically, don't do?
You don't make it negative?
Yeah, they would just bring it down and they would write this. The people who get it wrong, that's what they do. But what kind of 3n is this, everybody? Negative. So I need to divide by negative 3, and I get that n is equal to 4. Okay? Any question on that guy? All right. Now, the next thing you have to do is recognize in letter B that we have an opposite side situation. What you do is you look, Mr. Garzone, at the wall drawn through the middle of the equal sign and ask yourself, are these A's on the same side or are they on opposite side? They're on opposite sides, so you do what? Opposite operation. Minus 2a, and I get 3a minus 9 equals 26. This is ugly. Add 9, die. 3a is 35. Divide by 3, and you get an ugly answer of 35 over 3. What can I tell you? They don't all work out beautifully. As I said, stupid mistakes. And, you know, it actually is kind of good that some of them don't work out to be correct, because even on your regions, sometimes they work out to be fractions. Okay. Excuse me. Letter C. Distribute the 3. 3x plus 12 plus x minus 2 equals 20. Now, I saw on the quiz, 1 or 2 of you, I think 2, do the following: minus x minus x. What is wrong with that? They're on the same side. Again, here's my line through the equal sign. Same side? So 3x's plus 1x. You combine them, and we're going to talk a lot about combining things today. 3x plus 1x is 4x. Then 12, and this 2 is negative here. 12 and negative 2 is plus 10. Equals 20 minus 10, and another not so pretty answer. 4x equals 10, dividing by 4. X is 10 over 4, or 5 over 2, or 2.5, or 2.5, all the same thing. Any questions? Okay. Number 2, name the property and explain what it is. This is the commutative property. Why is it commutative and not associative? Because at first glance, it clearly looks associative.
They just switched the,
Yeah, you're just taking the 3 plus 1 and switching the whole thing. You're not regrouping around the 1 and the 8, okay? All right, so we've had a chance so far for you to take a few moments to look over homework answers. I'm sorry, just the ones to talk together. We have had the opportunity to go over your quizzes. We've had the opportunity, and by the way, the 3rd quiz is tomorrow. Almost the whole class has hundreds. I'd like the whole class to have 100 after tomorrow. And now we get into today's lesson. And this is something you did a lot of in 7th grade. Hold on a second. Can you believe we beat both Lester and Arietta? Yeah, I figured if we split, I'm happy. Yeah. All right, so the whole idea of combining like terms. Students will constantly say, what am I ever going to use this for with algebra? And the truth of the matter is that, to me, anybody who asks that question doesn't know much about algebra. Algebra is an expression of logic and reasoning. It is a way to take the world that we perceive around us and then put it into what we're doing for a way of working through problem solving. Now, when I was growing up, I had a grandfather. You guys ever see the movie Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood? Anybody ever see that movie?
No.
It is a great movie. It is not a good movie. It's an Academy Award winning movie. A lot of curse words in it, so if your parents don't like cursing, then you should not watch the movie. It's very important that I say that because I don't want you to run home and say, Mr. Linquist told me to watch this movie where they say curses all the time. But if your parents are okay with it, then maybe you watch it with your parents or whatever. It is a drop dead. It's funny. It's poignant, powerful, of the times. It's just a great movie. And what it's about is this old Korean War Vietnam vet named, whatever his name is in the movie, I don't remember, but Clint Eastwood stars as him. You guys see the Jeep I drove?
Yes.
Okay, that is a Korean War Jeep. It's a 1955 Willys. But I drive it once in a while to school. I'll probably try to drive it another day this week before the weather turns really cold. Now, in the movie, there's this old guy, Clint Eastwood, and my grandfather and Clint Eastwood are exactly alike in this movie. My grandfather was a very hard-edged man. I was the only one in the family who could deal with him. The opening scene in the movie, Clint Eastwood's wife dies. And they're in the church, and she's in the casket. And people are coming up. So he sees his granddaughter walk into the church. And his granddaughter is wearing like a shirt down to here. And she's got the piercing in the belly. And a nose ring. And she walks into her grandmother's funeral. And Clint Eastwood's standing near the casket. And they zoom in on his face, and he's just going like this. You could see the anger on him. He lives in a neighborhood that used to be a middle-class neighborhood, but now it's being run down by gangs. And kids were out of control. And Clint Eastwood is a tough guy, and he's not going to take that. He has a car called the Gran Torino. It's a classic car. If you ever saw the show Starsky and Hutch, that was the car that they drove. And my grandfather had a Gran Torino, and he was just like Clint Eastwood. He actually gave me the Gran Torino and the Jeep. So in that aspect, it was there. Now, my grandfather was not a warm and huggy guy. He would never say, I love you. In fact, I cared for him from when he was 92 to 96 because he broke his back when he was 92. And 3 or 4 days a week, I would spend in his house giving him showers, taking care of the house, blah, blah, blah. He never even came out and said, I love you. But near the end, he said, I don't know what I would do without you. And that was the closest thing I ever got to I love you out of him. It just doesn't work like that with this older generation. He was a tough guy. And every once in a while, he would let me borrow tools. And Emma before said, you know, there's less and less lesson and more homework. And that's because Mary, I'm sorry. That's because you learn by doing. You don't learn by watching other people do. My grandfather came over to my house once. He helped me replace windows. And I told you this?
Yeah.
All right, he pulled me, left the house. Now, when I had those tools, he lent me the tools, and he had buckets. And all of his buckets were in tools. So he would have like a bucket full of what he called spackle bucket. And it wasn't just that there was spackling stuff inside there. It was all cleaned out, but he would have every tool for spackling in this bucket. So if I said to him, Papa, I need to spackle, he'd say, no problem. He'd go in his garage. He had a wall full of these buckets. He'd grab the bucket. He'd give it to me, and that would be for spackling. Now, for the windows, I had a bucket for rough work, a bucket for finish work, a bucket for spackling, etc. He brings the buckets to my house. Now, can you imagine with such a hard-edged man, if I get back and I put all the tools in the wrong buckets? Do you have any idea what this man would do to me? It would begin with a smack before anything else ever happened. It would be automatic. So the bottom line is, everything goes in its own bucket, and a bucket for everything. You never ever mix things in buckets. You just don't do it, or Papa's going to kill you. Now, with that in mind, buckets are how we do this thing. Ready? I see A's and B's here. That's like a spackle bucket and a rough work bucket. So I'm going to, in my mind, make 2 buckets.
Can you have 2 buckets?
I'm going to make 2 buckets. If you want to draw buckets on your paper, you can draw buckets on your paper. Now, one of these buckets is going to be for all of my A's. The other bucket's going to be for all of my B's. Now, what kind of 4 A's is this? So I'm going to put a positive 4A in this bucket. Now, do the B's go in the A bucket? No, they go by themselves. So I'm going to put a positive 3B here. What kind of A is this? And it's really, right, technically it's negative 1A. We obviously don't usually write the 1. I'm doing that for teaching purposes. And then over here, I'm going to put the positive 2B. Now, when I'm all done, what's in the A bucket? I have 4 A's and a negative A. What's in the A bucket? 3A. And then over here, I have positive 3B's and positive 2B's. What is that? Now, a lot of people think that this is a plus sign. I don't want you to think of it as a plus sign. You could. It's not wrong to. But it's way better to just say, look, I have a positive 3A here, and I have a positive 5B there. And that's it. Everything is considered addition. The sign in front tells you whether it's positive or negative. Okay? Now, you don't have to literally draw the buckets every time, but sometimes in the beginning it helps, and then you learn not to do it anymore. So, try number 2. Some people like to draw their buckets. What about the hair? No. Did you read my senior quote?
Yeah.
It's a great quote.
What was it?
For the ones who have a notion deep inside, that it ain't no sin to be glad you're alive.
I found somebody with the last name for Busy or Kirsten. Her name's Debbie.
All right, ready? So, in honor of Phoebe, I'm going to draw buckets one more time. Buckets! Buckets! Okay, now, this time I have X's and numbers, and it doesn't matter which thing you put in which bucket, as long as you keep the X's in one bucket and the numbers in the other. It's kind of traditional to put numbers at the end. Oh, I want the balloon. So, that's a positive 3. That's a negative 4x. That's a positive x. And that's a negative 8. So when I put it all together, how many x's do I have in the x bucket?
Negative
3 x's, good. And then here I have minus 5. So negative 3x minus 5 is right. Now, I want to emphasize that this is also correct. See, my 3 x's are negative. Here they're also negative. My 5 is negative. Here it's also negative. So you can write either order. It's just traditional to start with letters, and even more specifically, highest exponents of letters first and work our way down. I won't go doing that. I can't resist yawning when another person yawns. All right, you guys try number 3, and perhaps we can start moving away from the buckets. You can draw buckets all year long if you want. Dolan approach, which is to have an imaginary bucket. Nice. I hadn't thought about that. I see you line them up. Very nice. I hadn't thought about that technique. See, I can call that the Dolan technique from now on. Oh, yes.
You're the person who had the last name one quick.
Yes, Lance.
Was he the goalie? Was that Andrew?
No, he was not the goalie. He had very long hair. I don't think it would fit under the goalie mask. And it was permed out. How do you like the hairstyles?
They're all long.
Yes. Mine wasn't like too long.
Not goofy, but all of them are like that.
Yep. All right. Now, the next thing that you can do as far as combining like terms on this, instead of drawing buckets, some people make marks like this. So I have an A's, I have A's, I have A's. Now, if I have 3 A's and negative 2 A's, what do I have so far? 1 A. That's all your fault. Now, what's 1a and a negative 2a? Negative 1a. I'm so sorry I didn't draw a bucket. Okay? Now, sometimes kids will also like to go back and cross it out so they know they don't have to look at it anymore. That's totally up to you, whatever system you like. Now, I have 2b's and negative 5b's. What is that when I put them together? Negative 3b. And then finally, I have negative c. Notice I used hoops for a's, I used circles for b's, and squares for c's. You can do whatever it is you like to do. In time, you will not write anything around the letters, but we have to get used to it first. Phoebe.
So confuzzled.
Okay, what are you confuzzled about?
Everything. Except for the C part. I got that part.
When you get your a's together, what's 3a's and negative 2a's?
Adding?
Everything is addition. The sign in front tells you if you're adding positives or negatives. 3a's and negative 2a's. 3 and negative 2. Your problem is not with what to do. Your problem is integers. Guys, 3 plus negative 2? 1. 1 plus negative 2? That's why it's negative a. What's 2b's and negative 5b's? Negative 3b's. Okay, try numbers 4 and 5. Phoebe, work with somebody. Yes, I did. I said everything is addition. No, oh, here's the deal. Mary asked a great question. This whole thing began with her asking, do we add the exponents? Mary, can I ask you a question? If you have 3 pretty pink bows and 2 pretty pink bows, what do you have? 5 pretty pink bows. Do you have 5 pretty pink bows squared? No. If you add 3 puppies and 2 puppies, do you get 5 puppies squared? No. You get 5 puppies. In other words, whatever I add or subtract on the face of the earth, if I start with that kind of thing, I have to end with that kind of thing. So if I start with x squareds and I add more x squareds, what am I going to get in the end? More x squareds. It will never change. The only time exponents change is if you multiply or divide. Okay? Does that make sense? Would you ever add chocolate chip cookies and chocolate chip cookies and get asparagus? No. So if you add x squareds to x squareds, why would it change? You're just going to get x squareds. Think of them as going in the bucket. In that bucket, aren't there x squared things in the bucket? Okay? Make sense? Your hair is fading.
Sad.
Yes. I'm devastated. Oh, now you're starting.
Negative 3. That's what I was saying. I didn't know.
Oh, a little payback now, huh? Gee, maybe some trail mix is a cure for yawning.
Yes. I'm yawning every 5 seconds.
Oh, we'll work on it. Yes, I do. Emma is so happy right now.
Are we going to be able to
Look,
find
it's Baby
it?
Debbie Fabrizio.
You want to know what's scary? Me either. I can't remember her. Maybe if I saw the picture.
Negative 3x squared plus minus negative.
Oh, what?
All right.
Isn't that a 0?
Ready?
Shut up.
So, I have 3x squared and another x squared. How many x squareds do I have? 4x squared. Sweet. I have 5 x's and negative 7 x's. What do I have?
Negative 2x.
Ladies, are we in the game here? And I have negative. I said ladies, are we in the game? I have a negative 2 and a negative 9. What do I have there? Nice. By show of hands, how many people got that right? You just know there's going to be something like this on your next quiz, right? Okay. Next. Oh! Hey! I got an x cubed here, and there's nothing to go with it, so I got to start with my x cubed. Always start with the highest exponent. Now, if you're out of order, but the signs are correct, you would be given full credit. Okay, it's just traditional to start with the highest exponent. Next, I have negative 3x squared and positive 3x squared. What does that add up to?
0x.
0x squared, which means 0x squared means 0 times x squared, which is just 0, so I don't have to write anything.
Okay, that's what
What's negative 4x and negative 3x?
Negative 7.
Negative 7x, and what's positive 5 and positive 2?
7.
And there's my answer. Okay? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. Everything in its own bucket, a bucket for everything. Remember, Papa will smack you in the head. He'll reach down from the heavens and go BAM! Right upside your head.
I don't think he's gonna do that.
No? I do. I twitch.
Where the heck baby Mr. Link went? Baby Link, I can't find you.
Can I see before Emma does?